Hey guys, so I'm going to try to make this intro really quick because I have a lot to talk about in this video. Oh my goodness, all my chicken videos are going to be pretty long because most of my viewers aren't into chickens, I don't think, so I want to make as little videos as possible. So the few videos I do make are going to be like extra long. Oh, also, there's going to be a lot of poop talk in this video because one of my chicks has been through a lot, and we're going to be talking about that chick mostly, what it's been through this past month. Yeah, a lot of poop talk, so just warning you. So in case you didn't see the video where I got my chicks, I got 6 black silky chicks, and I shared the first 3 days of having them in that video, and on the last day I shared that 2 of them unfortunately passed away due to pasty butt. So out of the 4 that were left, one of them did have pasty butt pretty bad, but I did manage to save that one in time. And that chick we're going to be talking about the most in this video. So week 1 was all about getting rid of pasty butt on my chicks. Silkies are especially prone to getting pasty butt. Now, I've mentioned this in the past videos. I've never had chicks before, and I didn't know what to expect or how to really go about things, but when I saw poop on my chicks butt the first 3 days, it didn't look like pasty butt that I have seen with chicks online. I just thought, you know, it was just some poo that caught on their feathers on the way out, but wasn't actually covering their vent area. But turns out it was building up, all hidden in the down feathers. If you see literally any poo on your chick's butt, you need to clean it off. So how I treated pasty butt, I just got a paper towel damp with really warm water and just soaked their bum for quite a few seconds, and then, you know, rubbed it now and again, just kept holding it. Basically just slowly and super gently just get as much of the poo off of their vent area as possible. So by the end of week 1, all the chicks that had pasty butt, it was gone. So week 2, I decided upon names for my chicks. So another thing with Silkies is that you cannot tell their gender until they're full grown, but I didn't want to wait that long to name them, so I just decided to guess on what their gender was based on how they acted. One of them, which is the only one that has a vaulted head, I thought of him as a boy because the vaulted head did make him look taller than the others, and roosters are usually taller than hens, but I know that doesn't make him a boy or anything, having a vaulted head. But he did, you know, stand tall more often, and he was more curious and adventurous than the other 3. The other 3 would stick together more and just be in their own little sorority, not really go exploring away from each other. But the vaulted head one did, so I decided he's a boy, and I gave him a boy name. The vaulted head one I named Luffy. Luffy is an animated character from a show I've watched, and in a few of the episodes, that character wears an afro. And so this vaulted head Silkie kind of looks like he has an afro on his head. I really like the name Luffy too. It's really cute, I think. So the other 3 I decided are girls. We'll see if I'm right on their genders when they're older. I'll probably be wrong. The 3 supposed girls, one of them is smaller than the other 2, and the other 2 are pretty much identical. So the smaller one, the one that had pasty butt the worst, I liked the name Luni for her. Luni spelled L-U-N-I, which does mean moon, but so does Luna, of course. But I kind of wanted them all to have an E sound at the end of their name, so I liked the name Luni for her. And then the other 2, I did notice a little difference between them. One of them did appear fluffier looking than the other, so I named the fluffier one Plumie, like plumage. And then the other one, I liked the name Silkie, so her name's Silkie. So Luffy, Luni, Plumie, and Silkie are their names. So during week 2, I was still checking Luni's butt for poo. And one night, I picked her up above the brooder just to check her, but she was freaking out more than usual in my hands, like moving around trying to escape, probably because she could see and hear the other chicks. So I set her down, and then she just stands there, but her head is kind of like shaking, like a bobblehead almost, making it go in circles. And then she'd run to the others and kind of crash into them and stumble. She was just acting a bit dizzy, I thought it was something I might have done accidentally. Now Silkies, another thing about them is that their heads are very fragile. Like one good peck to the head and they're dead because their skulls aren't completely closed. So it's risky putting them with aggressive chickens, and you just have to be extra careful with them when handling. I didn't think I hurt her head or anything when I was holding her, but yeah, it really upset me and I was really worried about her. The next day I noticed she was still acting a bit weird sometimes. She started like spinning in circles. She was just very insecure and she just always had to be with the others, and when she wouldn't see them she would spin in a circle. So I started researching these symptoms right away. The closest thing I could find that it might be, and I'm not going to be able to say the scientific name, but the other name is crazy chick disease. She was basically just showing signs of multiple possibilities, but it definitely appeared to be a neurological problem. So yeah, it was basically just those two symptoms, kind of weird head movements and spinning in a circle. And crazy chick disease seemed to be the closest thing to it. So looking up how to treat crazy chick disease, apparently it's the same treatment that you use for treating wry neck, which is a more common thing for chicks to get, is wry neck. So I looked up how to treat wry neck since it would be the same treatment. So if it was a neurological problem, then it was most likely a vitamin E deficiency by the way she was acting. And I found a recipe to follow for giving my chick vitamin E. So I went to the pharmacy and picked up some vitamin E gel capsules. So in order for a chicken to absorb vitamin E, they need selenium as well, and selenium can be found in egg whites. So first I decided to try doing the recommended amount of this on some chick feed along with some egg whites. So I actually separated the chick from the others by quickly making a cardboard divider in their brooder, and I gave it its own water, and I made the special food for it with the vitamin E and egg white mixed in with its feed. I made the divider so that it could go under the heating plate that was in there, but it didn't make it very well. There was actually still a pretty big gap underneath that the chick did try escaping through, which could be very dangerous if its head got stuck. And the chick just wouldn't calm down. It was just chirping nonstop, super loudly. It really did not like being away from the others. I mean, this chick specifically is very insecure. I just felt so bad, and I didn't see how the chick would calm down and eat. So I just moved it back with the others and decided to treat the whole flock by doing more food and adding 4 times the amount of vitamin E. I soon realized that, wait, how long can egg whites sit out? Apparently not more than 2 hours, so I went back to the pharmacy and got some selenium tablets instead to use with the vitamin E. Now the vitamin E capsules are a gel, and these are hard, and so I would have to crush it into a powder. So for treating 4 of my chicks, I did 4 of these and 1 of these crushed up. Mixed those together and then mixed it in with food and gave it to them. So that went on for a few days. So I had realized that Luni, her name meant what she acts like, Luni. I was gonna keep it spelled L-U-N-I though, because I wasn't gonna go naming her after her condition. That would just be not. But yeah, it was funny that she kind of is what her name means or can mean. So by the end of week 2, after giving them all this extra vitamin in their food, Luni actually got worse. She started putting her head down between her legs and running backwards, and then when the wall would stop her, she would just shake her head in between her legs, and I immediately knew that, okay, she actually has wry neck. So I guess what she was having was just early signs of wry neck before, but luckily I was doing the right treatment. So when she did get worse, I decided I needed to try separating her again so that I could make sure to give her the exact amount that she needs, because it was hard to know if she was getting enough when feeding all of them. So this time I made a much better wall. I made most of it with some clear plastic lids that I had for my aquarium. I used those as most of the wall so that the chicks could still see and hear each other. I also taped a mirror to the bottom of the wall that was under the heat plate so that the chick could hopefully think that there's another chick under there with it. Chicks don't like to be alone, so they recommend to put like a stuffed animal in with a separated chick, but I didn't have any small stuffed animals, so I just made some sock buddies for it by stuffing some black socks with more socks. And the chick did seem to quiet down when it was next to them. So it did take a while for Luni to calm down, but she did start to eat. And by the end of the day, she did eat most of the food. And when the other chicks were like quiet and settled down, ready to sleep, Luni would not. She was stressing out about how she couldn't hear the others anymore, and she just wouldn't settle down to sleep by herself. So because she ate most of her food, I decided to go ahead and put her back in with the others for the night, and she immediately calmed down once she was with them. So that worked out. Next morning, I moved Luni back to her side and made her some fresh food. Now how I made it was I first had to do the math and figure out how much of this selenium I give her now, because before all I had to do was crush 1 tablet, but with my math I decided I needed only 1/8 of it. So I broke it with a hammer enough to where I could break a little piece off that, you know, looked to be 1/8 of it. So then with that supposed 1/8 piece, I would break that into a powder, and then I would take 1 vitamin E capsule and puncture it with a nail and then squeeze out the gel onto the selenium powder. I would mix that together, and then I would pour a little bit of chick feed, an amount that I thought she would eat in a day. So I mixed all that together with the bottom of a spoon. I made sure it was really well mixed before putting it into her food dish. So I did that every morning, gave that to her. So the next day, she calmed down way faster. I don't know if you can hear the chicks, but they're being quite loud right now. So yeah, every morning I give my chicks fresh water, and I make sure their food is clear of wood shavings and poop. So when night came, she did again eat most of her food, and she did actually settle down this time, but I was afraid she was going to wake up in the night and freak out again. And because she did so well the night before with the others, I decided to move her to the others for the night again, because I knew it would make her happy. But she kept having episodes whenever the other chicks would like move around. She would just have these episodes where her head would go down between her legs and she'd run backwards, shaking it vigorously. She kept crashing into things. It just kept on happening, and such a sad thing to see. So I moved her back to her side, and she did settle down for the night. Didn't have episodes as much with no other disturbances around her. So that was the routine. Just every morning at 7, give her her food and take care of the others as normal. They were doing fine. They liked to peck at each other through the clear wall often, which was kind of irritating, but it kept them occupied. They would also scratch at the ground next to the wall together. And so anyway, by week 4, she didn't seem to be showing any more signs of anything. No spinning around anymore, weird head movements, or putting her head down between her legs and running backwards. All that stopped. Looking a lot better, but it's good to keep treating the chick for another 2 weeks just to make sure it's really gone. But during week 4, Luni developed a new problem, which was constipation. I noticed one day that she was having a hard time pushing out poo, like nothing was coming out, so I looked up what to do about that, and the recommended thing was to give the chick an enema. So that's what I did. I took the chick over on the ground with me and had it stand over a paper towel. I took a syringe I had that has a really small tip. I got a container of water and olive oil. So however much oil I put in, I had to put in double the water and try to mix it together, but you know, oil and water don't mix, and that wasn't going to be happening. I made sure to use warm water, of course. Water that matched the chick's body temperature, basically. So in the 90s. The oil and water were not mixing together, so I just syringed a little bit of water and then brought it to the top a little and collected some of the oil in there. the recommended amount exactly to give to a chick. Again, I followed something online of exactly how much liquid to be putting in the syringe. So I gave the chick an enema, which wasn't difficult. It didn't hurt the chick or anything. I just slowly pushed the syringe and a lot of liquid did come flowing back out, which is normal. And basically you just want to soften up whatever's in there. So after giving it one enema, I put it back in its brooder and waited, and it did manage to poo. I continued to watch it. A few minutes later, it still had to poo more, but it was again having some struggle pushing it out, so I gave it a second enema. The site actually said to give the chick 3 enemas, same dosage, but 3 of them after a few minutes. But because my chick pooed after the first one, I decided I wouldn't give it another enema unless it was having troubles again. So I did give it a second enema, and it was able to poop again, and it seemed good after that. So no more enemas that day. So because she had this constipation problem, I learned that probiotics can be good to give a chick in their water to help with digestion, and I thought Luni could really use this because all I had was electrolytes and I never even heard about probiotics, unfortunately. So I had to go to Tractor Supply to get some more chick feed, and I decided to see if they had probiotics there instead of ordering some online, because I noticed that if I ordered some online they wouldn't come for a few days. So I went to Tractor Supply one day to get some chick feed, see if they had probiotics, and they did not have probiotics. I did find some feed though. I also found that they had a bunch of cute little chicks there. One of the bins was full of little baby Silkies. Oh my gosh. They were so cute and fluffy. My chicks were pretty big at that point, and it was just so cute to see them so small again. They had different colors. They had black, white, and partridge, I think. And then there were also these little gray ones that didn't look like Silkies, but they were in there with the rest being Silkies. So after not much thinking, I ended up deciding I would get some chicks because they were just so cute. Too cute to resist. So turns out the limit was 4, so I had to pick out 4. So I picked out a couple white ones, one of them being a vaulted head, and I picked out a partridge colored one, and also one of the gray ones, which I had no idea what they were. I didn't get another black Silkie because I already have plenty. I didn't think it would be safe to put these new chicks in with my current chicks, so that meant I had to get another heat source because my black chicks were still using their heating plate. In my chick haul video, I explained several reasons why I didn't like heat lamps, but I didn't really have any other options, so I had to get a heat lamp for these new chicks. So I got that, and I also decided to get some chick grit because that can also help with digestion. Plus I wanted to start introducing my black chicks to some weeds from outside, which they would need chick grit for. I also got some more electrolytes because I needed some more for these new chicks. So because I couldn't find any probiotics there, I did order online. So after that we went to Walmart and I bought a bin for these new chicks to be in. So after getting home, I was in a really big rush to get this new brooder set up for these chicks. So because these chicks had already been on wood shavings, I didn't use paper towel like I did with my black chicks when they were this small. So I put in some wood shavings. I had some extra food and water feeders, so I cleaned those and put those in there. I set up the brooder right next to the other chick's brooder because I was able to clamp the heat lamp on their brooder to hang over the new chick's brooder. It took some adjusting of the brooder, not the lamp, to get it to the right temperature. Using my heat gun, I temped it. The cord on the heat lamp wasn't like super long. It was just long enough to reach the outlet, but it was just way too tight. I knew my dog would just unplug it trying to get up on the bed. So luckily I had previously ordered a temperature adjuster thing for my chick's heating plate when I thought it was going to be too hot. I ordered this temp adjuster thing. So I decided I would use that for this heat lamp as like an extension cord. But with it, I could also adjust the heat lamp's temperature, especially as the chicks get older. Instead of having to adjust the heat lamp, I could just adjust its temperature with this temperature adjuster thing. So I had thought I regretted buying that, but now I don't. So yeah, I have more chicks, you guys. 8 total, a few weeks apart from each other. And with these new chicks, I made sure to check them and their butts way better than I did with the first round of chicks. And the 3 Silkies, the gray one ended up not being a Silkie. It's actually a self blue English Bantam. Because of that, it's going to be wanting to roost on things, so I made it a little roost bar out of cardboard. And yeah, it's the only one that ever goes up on it. The Silkies have tried, but they just stumble off it. The 3 Silkies did all get pasty butt, which it did eventually go away for all 3 of them, so yay, no deaths this time. So back to that day when I got these new chicks. I got home. After setting up their brooder, I went to check on Luni, and oh my gosh, I noticed that her vent was huge. It was so big. It was so swollen looking. I don't know how to explain it without it sounding really gross. She was just extremely constipated, and it smelled pretty bad too, and there was like whitish, yellowish goo coming out. So after some research, I found out that and the smell means vent gleet, so she was both constipated and had vent gleet. After setting up the chicks, I went straight to helping, or trying to help, Luni with this constipation. I tried giving her enemas, an Epsom salt bath, which is recommended for vent gleet. None of those worked to help her pass any of it. Honestly, I don't think I could give her enemas properly because it was just so packed in there, really hard, and just impossible to get a syringe in. I also tried feeding her some frozen pieces of coconut oil in hopes that that would help things on the inside. After trying everything that was recommended online for helping a chick relieve itself, none of it was working. I was not going to be able to sleep that night knowing that Luni was in lots of pain and couldn't relieve herself. What she had was going to kill her the same way that pasty butt does, so I knew she was going to die if I didn't keep trying to help her, and she wouldn't be able to sleep that night either. So I laid down some paper towel on the floor, took Luni, put her on the paper towel. I laid down with her, had my hands around her to keep her warm. The room was really warm. I was super warm, and so my hands were like really nice and warm, so I just hugged her to keep her warm. She would even doze off in my hands. Basically, I would just wait for her to try pushing, and every time she pushed, you know, a little bit of the poo would present itself. So I would take the syringe and try to like scrape some of it out little by little, trying to avoid touching the inside edge of the vent where it was red. Just try to get as much as I could out, and then I would try giving her an enema. I did, instead of making a new batch of water and olive oil, I just heated up in the microwave. So for hours, I would just lay there with her, keeping her warm in between enemas. She would fall asleep, and then she'd try pushing really hard. Still nothing would come out. I just kept on scraping out as much as I could. Little bits, little pieces. Her poo didn't look like normal poo. It looked like not fully digested chick feed, so none of it was really soft. Her vent was like so hard to the touch and smooth because it was so tight. So after every push and getting a little bit out, I would give her another enema. And if I would get like quite a bit out, her vent would get a little smaller and not as tightened. It would start looking wrinkly the more and more I got out. So sometimes I would put some honey on her vent, especially on the red area, because I did not want her to prolapse, and honey like helps with swollenness, inflammation. It brings it down, it tightens things. So I put some honey on her, hoping that would help. And to apply that, I would just use a Q-tip. By the time it was like midnight, I did get a fair amount out. I was able to get the syringe kind of deep in there. The vent was much smaller at this point, and you couldn't see red anymore. It was almost closed even. So I gave her one last enema, some honey. I put her back in the brooder to give her a break, as well as myself a break. And as I would try to fall asleep, I could hear her trying to push sometimes. She'd make these really sad noises. She still couldn't relieve herself, but I was happy that I got, you know, a fair amount out by just very tediously getting little by little out. So at 4 in the morning I woke up and gave her another enema. Cleaned her up a little bit as well. She still couldn't go on her own. So I put her back to bed, went back to bed, and then at 7 I woke up and still no progress with her, but she was still alive. So that was very nice to see. I gave her another Epsom salt bath, which she seemed to really enjoy. Might have relieved her of some pain or pressure perhaps, but she almost fell asleep in the water. After that, I dried her off, put her back in the brooder for her to get warm, and I went to go get ready for the day. So after getting ready for the day, I decided to spend more time with Luni, doing what I did last night, just laying with her, keeping her warm in my hands, and just giving her enemas, getting more out. Her vent was pretty much back to its normal size. Her vent has always actually been pretty swollen looking ever since week 1 when she had pasty butt. So it was still kind of like a bulge, but it was definitely not as huge as it was the day before. And the opening was closed. It was able to close. There was no more red to be seen. So I was able to get the syringe pretty deep in there and kind of move it around. I could still feel there was quite a bit of poo still in there. So after a while I gave her one more enema to really hope that it would soak the rest of whatever's in there up. Then I left her alone for a few hours, and I came to check on her at one point that day and noticed a really big, soft, fairly normal looking poo on the ground. So I was so happy that she finally managed to relieve herself on her own. She didn't seem to have any more problems after that. She kept being able to poo on her own. So the next day I decided to give her another bath, but this time a regular bath where it was just really warm water, and I decided to use some dog shampoo because the ingredients were way better than like dish soap, for example. So I used a little bit of dog oatmeal shampoo in the water and gave Luni a bath to really clean up her behind. Her feathers have been like matted to her backside for weeks. I was never able to get like the poo completely out of her down feathers, so she always had like a bare bottom. So I finally washed her butt with soap for once, and it did get a fair amount of the poo out. So when I went to go dry her off and blow dry her, she finally had some down feathers on her butt, which was really nice to see. So I had to switch over to using my phone to record because my camera died. So week 5, everybody seemed to be doing really great. Finally. And the weather outside was really nice. So I decided I was going to put my black Silkie chicks outside for the first time since they were old enough. They were able to regulate their own body temperature at this point now. I had given them some weeds prior for them to try for the first time in their brooder. They went crazy for it. So my dad actually built them a little pen to go in outside. So I put it over some clovers and other little weeds that they could eat, as well as grass, of course. I put their food and water out there and put them all in a box, brought them outside, and put them in there. I did make sure they all ate chick-grit before I put them outside, and I'm sure chick-grit was going to help with Luni's digestion too. So here is some footage of them enjoying the outdoors for the first time. They're all still in the box because no one has been brave enough to go out yet. Luffy, of course, was the first to go out of the box, actually. So I ended up just taking them all out of the box because they were not budging. After they got used to it and felt safe, they really started to enjoy the outdoors. They started munching on the weeds, and I did put a blanket over the brooder so that large birds of prey wouldn't come to swoop them up, because we do have those around. I attached the blanket using some clothespins. Luni did get to join them because she was on the mend. So while they were out there, I decided to completely clean out their brooder. So I finally got to try out my tarp idea. It did seem to work pretty good. I just dumped all their wood shavings in a compost, and the tarp itself didn't seem to be dirty. So I just put in fresh wood chips after putting the tarp back in. water, and I decided to take out the divider and have Luni rejoin the others in the brooder, which also meant I would stop feeding her medicated food. So after they got to spend some time outside, I brought them back inside before it got too late, put them in their nice clean brooder, and they got right to grooming themselves. Now Silkie seemed to be the dominant one of the group, so she wasn't super welcoming to Luni. She'd always challenge her and kind of pick on her, but I guess that's expected when they haven't been with each other for quite a while. But I feel like it is getting a little better. They do have their squabbles now and again, but Luni is not afraid. Probably wants to be the dominant one herself. Anyway, Luni is a bit behind the others with growth. I guess her growth was a bit stunted because of all she went through. But yeah, we're pretty much in week 6 now, and Luni is still doing good. None of her symptoms have come back. Her vent doesn't look normal, but it is functioning normal, so that is good. Oh, and also, probiotics finally came in the mail, and so I immediately started giving that to Luni. Like before I had put her back with the others, I did give her that for a few days, some probiotics in her water. So hopefully that all helped with digestion. Oh, and Luni, after those 2 days of trying to help her poo, like I said, the second day she managed to poo on her own at some point, and because she was now able to poo on her own, she did eat a lot of food because she had eaten pretty much nothing the day before. She did eat quite a bit the rest of that day, and I noticed that evening that her crop was really big and hard to the touch, which was something I was concerned about, of course. So after some research, I was hoping that it was just because she ate too much at once and that it would be gone by the next morning. But because she was having problems, I was worried that it might be crop impaction. So to treat a crop impaction, you try feeding the chick some olive oil and then massaging her crop. I didn't want to wait till morning to see if it would be gone, so I decided to go ahead and try feeding her some olive oil because it wouldn't hurt her. So I took the syringe that I cleaned very well and filled it with just pure olive oil. I made a little drop come out of it, and then I put that drop near her beak in hopes that she would open her beak and try drinking it. After managing to get some of it in her beak and her tasting it, she would open her mouth. Whenever I had another drop of olive oil next to her beak, she'd open her beak and then drink some more and more and more. So after giving her a little bit of olive oil, I was a bit nervous to try massaging her crop because that can be dangerous. You don't want them to regurgitate or anything. So I kind of just gently touched it, not really massaged it or anything. Giving her olive oil, I felt a lot better going to sleep that night in case it was crop impaction. The olive oil would help get things to pass through easier. So next morning I look at her and her crop is a normal size. So yay, it wasn't a crop impaction. It was just that she ate too much food in one go. Something I never want to deal with is sour crop. So guys, that was a lot. Oh my gosh. I don't think anybody's gonna watch this video through, but if you did, feel free to comment that down below. So my black silkies are at their ugly phase right now. They don't look so pretty. They're getting rid of their baby down feathers and growing their new feathers, and yeah, they don't look so cute anymore. But my new chickies are still cute. Now, I don't think I have names for these new ones yet, so if you guys have any name suggestions, feel free to comment them down below, and if I get enough of them, I might make a poll for people to vote on a name for them. I've had ideas, and I'll go ahead and share with you a few names I like, or at least I think I like. So the gray chick, I was thinking about the name Silver, but I'm not so sure yet about that. Speaking of the gray one, I'm pretty positive that it's a boy because his comb is coming in so fast and is already red. So this has gotta be a boy. Now for the vaulted head white one, which actually has some yellow in it, I thought of the name Jasper for him. And again, I imagine it as a boy because of the vaulted headness being taller and stuff. Anyway, a jasper is a type of rock or geode or something. Gem. And the other white one, I like the name Opal for the rock Opal. I really like opals. And she was pure white too. No yellowing. I say he and she when I don't even know. I don't typically like long names either. And then for the fourth one, which I believe is going to be a partridge color, according to online, it's called partridge. So I was thinking, partridge in a pear tree. How about Perry? So I thought about the name Perry for this partridge colored one. But again, I'm not so sure if I like it or not. So let me know if you guys like the names I suggested, or please suggest your own. So I guess that's it for updates on these chicks. They're all doing well now, growing fast. I can't believe I ended up with 8 chicks, 7 being Silkies, 1 being not a Silkie. I'm hoping me explaining how I helped Luni through all her troubles has at least informed some of you about things that your chick could possibly get, and sharing with you how I treated it and that it was a successful treatment was hopefully helpful. If it was, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you watched all the way through, feel free to comment that down below. That would be nice to know. In my next chick update video, I will probably show you the chick's future living quarters outside. Hopefully the next chick video won't be so long. But me and this gray one here want to thank you again for watching, and see you in the next one, where this guy will probably be much bigger. Here is my non-silky chick. Bye guys.